We got 1 minute. Maybe people show up. Maybe they don't. I don't know. You guys drinking anything?
Yeah,
Water.
I have this cool like Topo Chico hard
Yeah,
seltzer.
those are good, man. I like those. I tried
They're
one
all
of those
right.
for the first time when
Yeah.
I was down at the lake.
Oh, really? Yeah. So I drink Topo Chico with tequila a lot, but this is kind of
Oh, I'm not a
not
tequila guy.
a lot, but that's my drink. Oh, really?
Yeah.
I
Being Mexican too, that's ironic.
that is strange. I just love it, man. You get reposado or añejo and just
I blame my mom, dude. Yeah, I would get so when I would get like sick, my mom would be like, "Here, take a shot. It'll kill the virus or whatever." And then
people
like,
think
Oh
that
yeah.
with especially with Fernet Branca. I don't know if you know what that is.
yeah, oh yeah, dude, trust me. My mom's educated me enough on tequila that I'm just
Yeah.
like, I'm good. Moist, what do you got, man?
Dude, I'm like sad right now that I'm back.
Damn.
It was such like a high being there, and now I'm back in the real world. It's like, I'll be fine tomorrow, but today's just like
Well,
shit.
let's just hop in then. How about you? Do you want to intro it?
We don't need to
Yeah,
intro. We can just segue into
that
it.
was
I'm
the intro,
curious.
I guess.
Yeah.
Okay
So
then.
So for the listeners, Moist was down at the Bitcoin conference.
it was great.
And
It was
I'm
a good-
jealous.
yeah. It's I wish you guys
I'm
could have
also
been
very
there. At least you guys were able to save sats. I'll tell you that. The Ubers and the food were ridiculous, at least from what I'm used to being in a small town and stuff. But
Yeah, Miami's definitely a surcharge just for the name itself.
oh yeah, trying to leave the convention when everybody was trying to leave the convention, I pulled up. It was $50 for an Uber back to my hotel. So I just waited an hour and the price dropped in half, and I was like, that was a smart move.
Oh, for sure.
Uh,
Yeah. I forget Uber has like their rate adjustments. Like I know whenever like I'm a big Cardinals fan and a big Blues fan, but whenever those games get out, they like surcharge like 5 times or whatever.
Yeah.
So we'll just walk like a couple blocks down and like get out of the range and then call.
Yeah,
then
dude,
call
that's
an
exactly
Uber.
what I
Yeah.
did the first time. I walked like a mile back. I went on the busy road, so I didn't have to walk through the ghetto. I was just like
Nice,
the main road. So I was like, this is fine. And
Yeah, I was
just
gonna
like,
ask you about that. So that's something I haven't really addressed to anyone. Like all of a sudden Miami's like a huge hype town. And like 2-3 years ago, if you told someone you were moving to Miami, they'd be like, dude, you're gonna fucking get killed.
crime rate is apparently like pretty high for a city.
Did it feel dangerous down there, or was it like
Not,
pretty?
I mean, not at the convention, and like it was in the ghetto though. I'm not gonna lie. The convention was like in the hood. Like at every point, no matter where I was, I felt like I was 1 or 2 blocks away from the ghetto. But I don't know. I feel like I got street smarts. I kept my head up. I wasn't really like not paying attention. I never felt unsafe at any point. I did go. So Friday night went to the Soul of Bitcoin with Brandon, I was rooming with, and then after that, me, Brandon, and then Johnny. So you guys don't know Johnny, but he was in Pomp's second course. Us three
Gotcha.
we went out to some like dive bar, and I apparently was right across the convention center. I didn't put that together until yesterday. I was like, wait a second, I was here last night, but like.
Yeah, it's funny being in a town you don't know. Like all your bearings are like so off.
Yeah, it took a while to like figure everything out. I still could explore the city a lot and learn it much better. But the next day I was like, wait, I was here last night. But at nighttime it was such a different vibe because like the Bitcoiners were gone, and then the party animals and like the tourists were in the area, like at the dive bar. We were like, I wonder if there's any Bitcoiners here. And I asked the guy behind me in line, I was like, yo, are you a Bitcoiner? He's like, what the F is that? I'm like,
Oh God, still early.
yeah. Yeah. So there was some weird looking people there, bro. But
I'm sure, man.
it was
dude,
a good time.
I lived vicariously through YouTube and Twitter over the last couple days, but it seems like the general consensus is like if you went, you got a totally different vibe than like from what I don't know if you've been on Twitter or YouTube a whole lot since you've been back.
Yeah. So yeah, the people I saw, well, a lot of the people I saw on Twitter tweeting were also there, and so they understood. But the people I saw tweeting about it from like away, they definitely seem to not understand. Like they're like, oh, look at all you nerds or whatever. Like you guys probably aren't even like socializing or whatever. Like it was the complete opposite. It was legit, bro. Like the complex where we had it at, it was pretty massive. They had like, although the inside was kind of small, but whenever Michael Saylor spoke, it was packed. Luckily, I got in there like really early, so I was able to see him speak live. But they had to stop letting people in.
So Moist, were you were at the the arena or the event when Max Kaiser went up there and did the whole fuck Elon thing? You were there?
Yeah, I was
So
there, and I was
what
also
that
there when
like?
that girl went up and confronted Jack Dorsey about his censorship. That
Oh,
was hype.
nice.
Yeah,
Wow. Yeah.
but literally I got there at 8 o'clock Saturday or Friday morning, and I still had to wait an hour in line. Apparently, some people had to wait 2.5 to 3 hours, and they got really pissed. But that's their fault. You should have got there early. It started at 9. I was like, I got there. I thought it started at 8, to be honest.
Oh,
So that's why I got
damn.
there at 8. I'm glad I got an hour early though, because I ended up getting there right as Mayor Francis Suarez was like starting to wrap up his talk, and he was the very first speaker. But they had a whole bunch of pop-up tents
So
outside that it was really lit. The Swan Bitcoin tent, there was some great conversation going on in there. The guy who wrote
what was in that tent?
so the guy who wrote the bullish case for Bitcoin, he was in there like selling
Oh, nice.
X number of copies, so like limited edition copies, and signing them. And then they had like a radio thing. I will, if any one of them is listening to this, which I doubt it, but they need to kind of fix it, because they had the speaker outside the tent, which makes sense so people can hear it and come into the tent. As soon as you get into the tent, you can't hear them talking, even though they're right in front of you, because it's just like crowded and there's like all the noise. But the speakers are outside the tent.
So
They
so
put
the
all the
author.
speakers outside the tent. They didn't
It was
even
like a
just leave one.
huge, just a one huge speaker, and then
Yeah.
I don't know. You just heard it better if you stood right outside versus if you were inside the tent.
So the person in the tent was the author of the bullish case for Bitcoin, that book.
He was in there like at certain times, but they also had like a stand, and they had like a radio set up like this. They had like 4 different people on, and like they would just like cycle through every time I went in there. I think it was like at the top of every hour, like 4 new people came on. Like I probably should have known who some of them were, but I mean, I've only been in this space for about 6 months, but apparently there were like some big names talking in there. But
Did you feel like the age group that was there was a lot of the people around like 24, 22, or did you feel like it was a good mix of like 40, 50?
yeah, I would say it was a pretty even split, like 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s. Maybe fewer like because I'm 20, but like 20 to 25, not as much. Definitely some, but like 25 to 30, there was more than 20 to 25. It was, but there was also like plenty of like middle-aged people in like 30s, 40s, 50s. Didn't see really any like really old people though.
Do you think you were one of the younger ones there?
Definitely, I think
Definitely.
so. Yeah. I think I saw like a kid, like 1 or 2 like actual like
Hey, train them young, right?
Yeah, dude, they're
Indoctrinate
learning. They're gonna
them.
be smart. Their parents are raising them right. Definitely.
Right. So tell me a little bit about the conversation with Jack. I think that's one of the ones I still haven't listened to.
Jack Dorsey.
Yeah. Yeah, not Jack Mahler. I just want to hear about Jack Dorsey first.
Yeah. So he was saying some stuff. I disagree with how he handled the censorship. I just view Twitter is they frame it as an open platform for anyone to speak. They should treat it as such, not censor certain people based on their points of view. But he made a lot of great points about Bitcoin and freedom, and I think that's why that girl got really frustrated, because he was like talking about like how fiat's like a human rights violation, which it is, because they're just printing endless money, stealing wealth. He made great points about that. He made great points about the Lightning Network and how that can be used to build on top, and like so we don't have to use shit coins. But I think that's why that girl, I think she was waiting for him to say something kind of like that, like stand on like the human rights platform, because as soon he had been talking for like 10 minutes when she went up and started yelling at him. I was surprised they let her go on as long as they did, because she was yelling at him for a solid minute and a half before security just like finally pushed her away. And he like responded kind of how I would expect him to respond to a situation like that. He's like, yeah, we'll talk about that. We'll talk about that. Definitely. Let's talk about it right now. And then he sort of danced around all the points she made, and he was just like very vague. And he's like, some people might disagree with the political decisions we had to make, but like, I don't know, it's just more of a free speech thing, which is the point she was making. And he didn't really address that. But then again, like he can't, I mean,
yeah, it's a lot of people think like Jack has like all oversight over Twitter, but
yeah,
it's
his
a
board of
corporation.
directors.
Yeah,
100%. I think that's why he because he's a Bitcoiner, so he truly understands the concept of freedom. Like you can't be a Bitcoiner and not understand that. So I think the whole situation, he was more worried about his personal incentives, which everyone
for sure.
in power is. So like the same with the Fed. That's why they print in this money, because people are always looking out for their own best interests.
I see James joined. James, what's
What's
going
up,
on,
James?
man?
Were you at the conference, James?
Looks like his mic is muted. That's all right if he wants to
What's up,
listen.
guys?
Hey,
Sorry,
what's going
I just got on here. I'm getting ready to get something to eat. No, definitely didn't make it down to Bitcoin conference. I wish.
Yeah, man, it was a good time. I was
Oh,
the only
so
one
you
in this
went?
call. Yeah, I was the
Hell
only one
yeah.
in here who went. I was blessed to be able to go. It was a great time. I definitely recommend if you guys can make it out next year.
So
But,
what was it? Just like a lot of different speakers and things like that?
Yeah, so there was speakers, which I mean, you could watch them online. So that's not really the reason to go. It was the best part was 100% like getting to talk to everybody. Like literally, you walk. I was walking around and like Robert Breedlove just walks right by me, like stuff like that, and like even all because just being there, everyone here is smart because they're in Bitcoin. So like you could normally like if I'm at a bar or something, I sit down and talk to a stranger. It could be kind of hard for me to start a conversation because like chances are we probably don't have much in common. And not to be cocky or anything, but like because I'm a Bitcoiner, I don't know, that's all I want to talk about. And most people don't, and they can't hold a conversation like that. But literally, I could walk down and walk up to anybody, sit down, and we could have a conversation about Bitcoin or whatever. And like, it was great. There was like, they had like a bunch of booths set up inside. And the first day I was there, I kind of walked around, was trying to talk to the booths, like see what was going on with those companies. But then I realized like these are just the people being paid to sit behind the booth. Not that I didn't have good talks with them, but like the CEOs and like the really big names in the industry, they were just out and about. Like I walked up to this one guy in one of these pop-up tents and like we talked for 30 minutes. And then he ended up revealing that he worked at Coinbase. Like I had no idea. I just went up and talked to him. And so I follow him on Twitter now. But
did he follow you back?
I don't think he's followed me back yet.
Oh, bastard.
Yeah.
We're gonna have to send him this video.
Yeah. But it was great. I met a lot of cool people. I met this guy named Mark yesterday. I want to have him on the podcast, but I don't know. We talked for like 3 hours. He was like kind of mentoring me a little bit. You know, it was a good time. I met a lot of people. I got to meet Pomp in person. I met a ton of people from Pomp's crypto course. We all Thursday night we all met up at this bar. There's probably like 40 of us.
Oh, that's insane.
Yeah,
wow.
We had a little section blocked off for us. It was kind of nice. Yeah, it was a really good time. Miami's a pretty cool city, gotta say. It felt like a different country to me just because there's so many different people there who like, and I don't speak Spanish. I wish I did because like half the people, all my Uber spoke Spanish except for one, so I couldn't really talk to him. But it was a great experience. Like I'm glad they're having it in Miami again next year. Hopefully I can go. We'll see though.
So James, what do you how did you feel about the conference not being there and seeing it from Twitter? Are you happy you didn't go, or kind of jealous you?
No, I mean, I didn't. I actually didn't. I've seen some of the highlights. I was in a wedding this weekend, so I really didn't get a lot of time to, dive into the thing. I just seen the El Salvador news and a lot of the other things. So
I gotta say that was really emotional. Like you could just feel the energy there.
Did you get to see Jack Mallers like live?
Yeah,
do the
so
announcement? That's awesome, man.
The inside where they had that, it was like me and Johnny and Mark, who I was hanging out with most of the day. He was scheduled to go on at 4:15. We walk up at 3 to try and get in, and the line's already way, way backed up. But they had like a big screen outside with some bleachers, and like so we went ahead and posted up there. Eventually, like that got filled up too, so we were glad we did that. But it was like just live cast right outside. But all the main speakers from day one that I was interested in, I got to see. Like I was in the room. But that Jack Mallers news was really hype. Like even outside, it was like really, really loud. Everyone was cheering. And also the Silk Road guide, I had not heard his story. And when he
There's
got
a phenomenal
on,
book. There's a phenomenal book called like American Kingpin, which is one of my favorite books of all time about the Ross Ulbricht story. It's incredible.
Yeah, he phoned in from jail and was talking, and that was like very touching. Like I felt bad for him genuinely because
that story. So he should not be in jail for what he did.
no.
So dive into that because I just know I know
James, I
that he
wanna hear
made
your
Silk
take.
Road, and they sold drugs and hitmen on there.
Yeah.
So some people
James,
might.
yeah, James, if you have any, what do you think? What do you know about that, James?
Know a little bit about it. I'm familiar with his story at least. I kind of view it at this point right now as somewhat like the Martha Stewart trading scandal that happened. You know, she went to jail for that shit, but now everybody's doing that. A lot of the senators, are doing a lot of insider trading and things. So I mean,
100%.
it's kind of ridiculous to see you actually went to jail for that. So
Life sentence too.
What Ross did was he lived in Texas and he was going to college and he wrote the code for this website called the Silk Road because he believed in like libertarian views.
right.
And while on campus, he just kind of wanted to sell like not sell pot, but like kind of get like next level, but make it easy and safe. So he created this website. It kind of just took on a life of its own, and then through that, he also got like the Breaking Bad Walter White mentality. In a way, he did. At least this is how the book shows that. But again, this kid's only 21, 22 at the time. Like, what do you really know? You're just kind of making a website and you're stoked because
And it starts taking off too.
yeah.
So,
So then he starts getting chased down. There's people who just start to help him, and he goes by a pseudonym of the dreaded pirate robot or whatever. I don't dreaded pirate from the movie. You guys, do you know what I'm talking about? There's the popular movie.
Right, from the Disney movies.
Yeah.
Pirates of the Caribbean.
No, it's not pirates.
Shut
I
up,
don't know.
Blaze.
Come on, man.
I haven't seen that
Hell
series.
no.
No, I think it was Sinbad, wasn't it, or something? Nah, I
No,
don't
hold
know. I'm
on,
speaking
hold
out of
on,
my
hold
ass
on.
too. I'm just making up stuff. Ray, what's going on, man?
Not
See,
much.
Ray.
How are you guys? I thought it was Roberts, but I could be wrong. It's gonna bother me now.
The Silk Road guy.
Yeah.
Oh, you're right. You know what's so funny? We were all like confused, like who are we gonna ask? And it's like you can just Google in a minute.
Yeah,
You know what I'm saying? Yeah, no, it's the guy from this what's this
Pirates
movie?
of the Caribbean
Bride
movies.
or Princess Bride movie. Right? That's this character here, no? We're all just dumb.
Oh, he was one from the Princess Bride movie. Okay,
Princess
okay.
Bride guy, yeah. So there we go. But yeah, the way he gets caught was wild, man, and so it's just so sad. And he was like falling in love with this girl, and the book's incredible. So listen, but he just believed in libertarian views and wrote code really, and then it kind of took over. So
And then his co-defendants only got a few years to even.
Right.
Some of them got some months, and they were just as big of a deal as he was as far as administering.
Or even
this
more
and
so,
keeping it
yeah.
running. Right, maybe even more so. Exactly.
I was talking to my friend about it yesterday, and something that was like really cool to me about Silk Road. He said it was like eBay. So the buyers, you could rate the buyers and the sellers, and it sort of the free market worked itself out. Like you could send people fake drugs or like a crappy product, but then they would give you like 1 star, and so it really like it sorted itself out.
System.
Oh yeah, it was very professional.
That's incredible
here.
to me.
Yeah, there's a if you guys don't know, there's a petition out there that a lot of people are signing to try and free him. Yeah. Jacob, you should share that on screen if you can.
I think you were in the spaces yesterday, Alan, when they were talking about like the only way to get him out would probably be a presidential pardon.
Yeah, but that's why the news with like El Salvador is like so huge because now like I think the way like the criminal law is working is they're like indicting him or they've prosecuted him and convicted him on a lot of like property selling laws. And with El Salvador adopting Bitcoin as legal tender, like this really changes the game for him. So they all say,
able to see this right now?
Yeah, I can see that what you got up on there. Yeah, that's awesome. It's crazy too because his Twitter too isn't ran by him; it's ran by somebody anonymously as well. I think on there it says like ran.
Can you
by
scroll back
one.
down to all those organizations? Wow, yeah, that's a lot. Man, that sucks, man. He's
the
just
Cato
locked up in
a
a jail cell right now, like
and maximum security prison in
Max,
Colorado. Yeah, like it's not even like a easy prison. Not that any prison's easy, but still, like they gave him
1
the
hour
whole
of sunlight a day.
That's terrible.
They're definitely just trying to make an example out of that guy. There's nothing.
100%.
Yep.
Did you guys see Jack Mahler's Twitter got?
Yeah, dude, that's insane.
What is that about? I guess someone doesn't like what we're doing.
Well, and
You're
it's
saying
funny
his Twitter
too.
got hacked?
Yeah, I think it was hacked.
Wow.
It says suspended. Like if you try to go to his account, it's not there
So did
anymore.
he announced at the Bitcoin conference that
That El
El
Salvador
Salvador
was
was
recognizing it and putting it on their
and that
balance
place
sheet.
just went nuts, didn't it?
Yeah, it went nuts, and he was getting like he was tearing up as he talked, and like a lot of us were starting to like tear up. I was feeling it definitely. Like
I
it was
tuned
crazy,
in.
man.
I
on
follow him
YouTube.
on Twitter and some of the guys that were like down in El Salvador with him doing that. It is pretty crazy shit.
It's crazy to me because we just had on our podcast, Dennis, and he taught us about Bitcoin Beach. I just found out about that like last week of what they're doing in El Salvador, and then like they made that announcement. I was like, wow, that's legit. The Bitcoin Beach guy was there. I talked to him for a minute. I was like, appreciate what you're doing. That was a couple hours before they made the announcement, so he's probably like giddy, just ready to like everybody to find out because they really hyped it up too. I don't know if y'all saw the Bitcoin conference Twitter page. They were like, this is like a huge announcement. Like I don't know. They set the bar really high. I was worried they weren't going to hit it, but they did.
So I've been talking to this James Bang guy on Twitter. And his Twitter bio reads CEO of ZEO Capital, 10 years into crypto journey using blockchain to solve real world problems, yada, yada. And his pinned tweet is a photo with United Nations Secretary General Ban Ki-moon. And they were like talking about blockchain and everything. But I was sitting in one of his Twitter spaces and I've gotten to know him pretty well over the course of the last few days. And he's about to drop some news with another country adopting Bitcoin as a reserve currency. So it's just crazy to see all these dominoes dropping.
Oh yeah.
Moist, I don't know if you heard about the Russia news. Did
Where
anybody in here? Did anybody in
not,
here?
Pegging to the dollar or something anymore. They don't recognize it, right?
No, not that. But James, Ray, Jacob, do you guys hear about that
I have
news with
no
Russia?
As far as I'm not using the dollar to, is there for assets?
So they removed from their national wealth fund all USD assets. So I think like the only thing the majority of their holdings is still in euros. And then the other 2/3 I think are made up of I should say the other 3/4 are made up of gold, the Chinese yuan, and the Russian ruble.
Well, they're smarter than a lot of people because the US dollar is trash.
Well, just think about it, like all the world, like the global reserve currency in the world is the US dollar.
Yeah.
Right.
So like you have like gold and oil and all that priced in USD. And like think about it from like China or Russia's perspective. Like the only thing, I guess Russia, I mean, the ruble is kind of crap.
Yeah.
But the biggest thing
They're
that they
all
have
crap.
going, the biggest thing they have going for them is like their debt per capita is like incredibly low. And then China, the biggest thing stopping them from being like the global reserve currency is that they manipulate their currency all the time and the world knows about it. But think about it from their perspective. They're like, all right, how do we beat the US? Well, fuck it. Let's just pull the nuke on the US dollar and just adopt Bitcoin. So, and just curious, it's just interesting to think about because if they do it first, then the US is kind of fucked. But if the US does it first, then they're going to be like kind of the leaders because they're already the leaders of the free world.
I don't know, like, how I don't think we're anywhere near the US doing. I think it's going to take quite a few more countries because, like, has anybody in Congress or Senate even like proposed the idea at all of like adopting Bitcoin as an asset?
Yeah. So as far as I know, I think so. Here are my thoughts on it, and anybody else can feel free to chime in on it because I'm by no means an expert. But I think what we're going to see is a lot of these developing countries like El Salvador. We're seeing this in Africa. We're seeing this in other emerging economies. The governments are going to be the first to adopt, and it's going to work from top down. But in like first world countries, and we can see this happening here in the US, but we're going to see things go from bottom up as it should with Bitcoin because it is like, as much as I hate to say a people's currency, because like communism is associated with saying something like that, but it really is. I mean, it's like the first time money's going out of the hands of the government. But we're seeing this in places like Miami, for example, with their mayor. We're seeing this in places like Texas and Wyoming having huge incentives for miners to come and mine. And we're seeing some senators also get on board too. I mean, you can see on like Twitter, a lot of them have adopted laser eyes, which is kind of funny.
I guess it is going to happen more on a state by state basis, which I guess once enough states do it, maybe the federal government will start taking it seriously. But also, how does I'm no civics expert. How does the Fed really connect to the government? Because isn't it its own separate entity?
Yeah. I don't know, James. Seems like you might know a little bit more about this.
I mean, it is it's I don't know a ton. I know it is separate from the U.S. government, from the federal government, though. There's the Federal Reserve, and then there's the federal government. So the
Yeah, I
Federal
think
Reserve is just going to print money off and then loan it out to central banks. So
I think it's private. It's technically private, so it's not technically government entity. But I think the president, I want to say, appoints the head of the Fed. So there's kind of a tie in there. So he's kind of got, well, it's not, not controlled by him. He's kind of got his finger
right.
ears over there with a little bit of pull, I guess, if you will.
Yeah. Well, maybe if a Bitcoiner wins in 2024 and they appoint a Bitcoiner to the Fed, they'll just be like, all right, we're done. Closing, locking up. No more Fed.
That would be amazing, but I highly doubt it.
Yeah.
I think we're going to be a long ways away from any American adoption. I think. I think it's kind of like the NBA team who like gets all the draft picks and like can't cut the player when they suck because they're too invested. That's kind of the situation we're in now a little bit.
It's crazy because like a lot of things are priced against the dollar, but like also currencies are priced against each other, but they're all being like inflated. Eventually it's gonna have to click. Like we have to have a limited supply because otherwise there's no real way to judge value, like unless you have something with a limited supply like Satoshis.
So how much debt have we acquired this year as a country? I think, and then added to the national debt, I think it was 1.9 trillion.
I have a
and then
link
I think
saved
Biden
here.
said he was going to have it down to 1.4 trillion by the end of this year, which I don't understand how, because they're going to print more.
Yeah, they just
dollars
passed
off,
another
which is going to
$6
devalue the
trillion
dollar.
stimulus.
Yeah, we have
It's
the
almost
new
impossible.
package coming in now.
Right.
That's going to ramp it up.
People don't understand the series of trillion with a T. Robert Breedlove made this point at one of the talks he was I listened to this weekend. You'd have to stand, like if you got $1 every second, it would take you 30,000 years to get $6 trillion. And that's how much they're about to print out of nothing. It's ridiculous.
Okay, so I'm gonna link this.
It's not an economical amount of money. It's not really.
It's just like fake stuff. They're not printing value. They're just printing worthlessness.
Well, think about it. Think about how the whole economy is held together. It's just like a revolving game of IOUs, like, and the messed up part about it is like with COVID, like the government's been like incentivizing people to stay home by paying them more than what their jobs would be paying them. And like the US economy has shifted out of a manufacturing economy into a service economy. Mm-hmm. So like the cost of our exports has gone up so high that doesn't match the influx of our imports. So there's like, when you do that, like the biggest things that happen is you'll see like what we're currently seeing is a divide amongst the middle class into either poor or rich. And that divide gets bigger and bigger and bigger. Mm-hmm. So I don't know. It's just a shame to see, because like it's kind of like they're stuck in like a rock and a hard place, because when you really start to like dive into it, like the whole fiat thing is just one big Ponzi. It's revolving IOUs.
If they stop printing money, it's going to collapse now. But if they have to continue printing, but it's just delaying the inevitable.
Yeah.
So Alan, what am I looking at here? What's going on?
So this is like real time, like national debt versus like all the other countries. Like I think, what's that say? $28 trillion or something like
28 that. 28 trill, well, 8 trill, 14 trill, just little numbers.
Yeah. And look at China's national debt in comparison to their GDP.
All right. Describe national debt to me like I'm 5.
Everything you owe other countries.
So, okay.
But the US ironically has this position of power where it's like, yeah, like we owe you guys all this money, but like you're also pegged to our dollar. Yeah. So fuck off.
And here we have a little bit more of a detailed outline, which, Yeah.
So this is all measured in a currency that is being pumped with more and more every day. So like
Someone's gonna look at this and be like, "You guys have no fucking idea what you're talking about."
Yeah.
That's what I think.
fine.
I think they're gonna be like, listen,
We're trying to
guys.
learn. You know.
I am trying to learn. I've learned a lot. I'll tell you what, like not going to the Bitcoin conference, I made up for it for sitting in Twitter. Dude, I sat in Twitter space on Friday night for 16 hours.
Every time
Like,
I've joined one now, you've been there, so I know you're grinding, bro.
dude, I've increased my follower count. Not that it matters, but like tenfold.
That's great.
It's seen greater gains than my portfolio in the last 6 months.
How's everybody doing? Is anybody buying? Is anybody? I don't think anybody's selling in this room, but James, Ray, have you guys been buying, accumulating anything like that?
I just gave my buddy $1,000 worth of Bitcoin for a wedding present.
Oh, that's nice of you. How
Dude,
did
that's
you-
awesome, man.
Yeah.
That
Did
I
you
love
make
that.
him promise to hold it for at least a year?
I made him promise to hold it for at least 4 or 5 years.
Yeah.
I don't know if
that's
he
good.
will, but he's got a 7-year-old son, so I told him it was for him pretty much.
Yeah,
That's
that'll pay for his kid to go to college if that's
Exactly.
what he so chooses.
Yeah, more than that. Shit.
Yeah.
He might have his son set for life.
Yeah, in 10 years with
Well, like, and this is one of like the big arguments I've been having in like the Twitter spaces. And like, I need to stop, dude. Like
I love trolling people on Twitter. I love it.
Yeah. Well, I've been like engaging in these like dumb fucking Twitter arguments. Like, and I'm just like,
That's
I just
the
need to
evolution
stop.
of Twitter. You gotta get in the dumb arguments first, and then you'll just slowly evolve out of them. You can't avoid it. It's almost like it was built for that.
Yeah, it's like
It's
baptism
just
by fire,
distracts
right? But I was arguing with this guy, and he was like trying to tell me that like Beanie Babies do the exact same thing as Bitcoin. And I was like, I was trying to approach it without like insulting him at all, because like once you start insulting the other party, like you've lost.
Yeah.
There's no like engaging with the party. But like the crux of like the argument I always go to is like, all right, like, so Bitcoin is digital gold. And if you believe that, then you have to assume gold is worth at least the market cap of real gold or analog gold, and we know that sits at about $10 trillion. Bitcoin's sitting at about 800 billion. So that means like Bitcoin is currently at least 10 times undervalued what the price should be. And it's like, why the fuck are you not buying?
That's
like,
not even considering taking like from the market cap of other assets like real estate and equities.
Not even just that, but think about how fucking boring gold is right now. Like most people who are buying gold aren't even buying real gold. They're buying certificates of gold.
They don't own gold. The bank has their gold.
Yeah, exactly.
So none of you guys would buy gold? Like none of you guys would own gold just as like a hedge against Bitcoin for any reason? I just ask him, like, would you have like 98% Bitcoin and just a 2% gold just to be responsible?
Yeah, I would have gold, silver.
Right.
Yeah,
Like,
I
mean, just because
silver is
Bitcoin is going to
undervalued
be the great asset doesn't make those bad assets, right? Like I don't know.
Copper. The price of copper is always.
Well, that's because the demand of that, right? And like a copper shortage, yeah.
Yep.
Yeah,
pennies right now. Pennies before, I think I read that any penny before 1982, with a certain amount of real copper in it, is actually worth like
more than 1 cent.
Worth like a nickel, yeah. So funny is my dad actually
I gotta go look.
My dad always collected a bunch of pennies too. Is he comes from like a coal mining town where they used to pay, all the workers in like script money. So it was just, like a certificate, kind of like cryptocurrency. Basically, it's tokenized, kind of like a tokenized economy. It's the coal companies would, pay people in this script money as a form, to use as a credit. The local stores would take it, but mostly, the company store would take it. They would give you different deals and better deals than cash at the company store. But anyways, what my dad liked to keep coins, like to keep silver and gold, because early on in these company towns, they weren't letting people actually, build real wealth. They weren't letting families, my family included, actually keep silver, keep gold. They would raid your house and kick you out of your house if they found gold and you weren't using it script money. And this is real early on, in 1920s, 1930s. But my grandfather was like the accountant, was like the money man for the coal mines, and he always found ways to get people silver and gold. So I have a lot of like uncirculated 64 Kennedys and just random gold coins and stuff that are really old that I've had for years. So I like gold and silver still
So
somewhat.
they'd raid your ancestors' house and steal the gold.
Oh
That's
yeah,
messed up.
steal their gold and kick them out of the house because it wasn't their house. The houses were owned by the coal company. They were coal mining towns. Like I still own the old house, coal mining house south of 30 minutes south of Pittsburgh. It's in a little town called Pit Gas, which that was the name of the company, of the mining company. It was Pit Gas, and it's still there. The coal mines are all, they're done, gone, pretty much dried out. The trains still run, but it's not really supporting the local economy. Now it's mostly, fracking and natural gas really hit hard and came through there.
Mhm.
So that's why I was kind of interested in, mining Bitcoin with some of that residual waste from the fracking gases.
Yeah, you beat me to the punch there. I was just gonna say, like, it's.
I mean, I know a bunch of petroleum engineers and a bunch of guys with small operations. It started off small and probably either got bought out in the last time. And I just think that could have really saved them because they went under. A lot of them went under. And
Right. Yeah, no, I 100% agree. I mean, it's still something a lot of people aren't aware about, like you talk about like Bitcoin as a battery and they're like, oh, what do you mean? It's like, well, there's two sides to proof of work, like there's the computing power and mining side. But for like an energy company, it's also a way to prove like, hey, like, yeah, we produce this energy. Rather than just let it go to waste, we mined Bitcoin and now we have like something to prove that, hey,
You have the digital energy. You just converted the coal energy or whatever energy into the digital energy that you can send around the world.
Exactly.
yeah, and with natural gas, it's like it's always burning. So there's always like a flare gas, like a waste gas. And I think basically when the guy, we had a guy in the class in our cohort that was a nuclear energy guy. I can't remember who it was.
Ah, damn it. I was hoping you'd remember because I've been wanting to talk to that guy
he
a
took
little bit
over
more.
one of the sessions. We got in one of the sessions with Kenny, and he talked really late in the session and just kind of revealed who he was and his profession. And then it ended up just taking that session for like another 45 minutes because everybody wanted to talk to him and ask him questions because he was really high up in the nuclear energy field. And he was actually pitching to a lot of these nuclear energy executives on doing just that, on mining Bitcoin with, whatever waste gas, not even actually using like nuclear.
Yeah, no, I remember that conversation because I was one of those people. I was like, all right, time to sit down, strap in, shut up.
Right,
like this guy is like,
that guy just went. That was a great conversation. That might have been the best discussion group I felt like I was in during the cohort.
Oh, for sure. I definitely want to keep those up. I mean, that's kind of the point with like the Sunday Scaries thing. So James and Ray, I appreciate you guys being here right now, and hopefully we can.
Speaking of Kenny, I got to meet him. He's really cool.
He seems like a tall dude. Is he pretty tall?
Yeah, he is tall. So is Morgan. Morgan's really tall.
Yeah, Morgan looks like a big tall dude for sure.
Yeah, I think I got to meet all the coaches except Balazs, unfortunately.
Was Balazs not down there?
He didn't come Thursday night to the bar we all met at, and then there was so many people I didn't run into him at the conference. He was at the after party because I saw a picture like all the coaches, but I didn't get tickets to the after party. I signed up for the conference too late in general. I barely got my tickets to that.
The price of the tickets now are going for $200.
If you get it for the first 1,000 tickets,
yeah, that's pretty wild.
I'm tempted to pull the trigger.
Yeah, it's kind of like might as well. It's only $200.
Yeah, I'm gonna check right because it's in March next year. Thank God, because like
it was hot, right?
It was humid. I would stand outside and my entire back would be soaked with sweat in 10 minutes.
But is it going to be in? It's back in Florida next year.
Yeah, it'll be in Miami, probably the same venue. Because I mean I don't know. I don't know actually. I think they could have used a bigger venue, and who knows from a year from now, even if they do get a bigger venue, there might be even more people that want to show up because ideally the community grows.
It has been for the last 10 years.
Because it's gonna be in March. I hope it's during my spring break.
So Moist, I'm curious. I've seen a lot of pushback on Twitter about the convention as being like this bro, like F your shit coins, like saying like it was like a missed opportunity to educate like the general public a little bit better. And instead like on the Max Kaiser, Michael Saylor meeting, like I've seen a ton of hate on that. And then like the rebuttal to that from the people that were there, they were just like, hey, like all these like YouTube channels aren't going to air like the boring educational stuff. They're going to air all like the hot takes and stuff.
That's exactly it. Yeah, apparently there was like a shitcoin conference going on in town somewhere else, but
There are a lot of shitcoiners there. There were
yeah,
like
I talked to a handful
I
of
saw the
people who
video that
weren't
got ripped off his
maximalists.
shirt.
Yeah, that was. I wasn't there for that. I saw that on
He's-
Twitter too. I was
He's
like
like promoting himself as that guy on Twitter. Like it's like that's his photo, and I would be embarrassed.
How did he
personally,
get up
if,
on
like,
stage in the first place? Like, how did he get a spot?
It seemed like there was no security there,
Oh,
like
dude,
at all.
no. This is. I don't know if this is on YouTube, but after the Jack Mahler announcement, Tim Dillon, the Winklevi, and Jake Paul and some other guy I didn't know were on there, and Tim Dillon literally made that joke because he was up there kind of like he's no expert on Bitcoin or nothing.
Right.
He was just there cracking jokes and stuff, and he's like,
He tweets quite a bit about Bitcoin. Actually, I've seen him tweet a few times.
he was funny. He was like calling us a cult and whatever, but like,
I mean, fuck it. I mean,
but he was like, one dude got up and started
Yeah, it's a
yelling at
cult.
him, and it's like, bro, like he's just joking. But then Tim Dillon was like, I mean, these 2 security guards here and like 1,000 people there. What are these 2 security guards gonna do? They could all just come up and like kill me right now. But that was funny. Definitely underrated part of the conference. That and Tony Hawk, bro. I got to see Tony Hawk skate in person, like 10 feet in front of me. Amazing. That dude's cool.
So it's funny that you mentioned that because there's a lot of hate on Twitter about like that. They're like, why the fuck do we have these like celebrities here and all that? And the rebuttal I've heard to it, it's like, dude, it's a fucking conference. Like
Anybody can
it's
show up if they want.
like it's the whole point of it is for like networking and to like have like a party and like get to know people. Like it's funny.
It was a party, definitely. I mean, they had a bar there, like people were getting sauced. Like,
Yeah, I seen a lot of like developers talking about like it's a missed opportunity to like get things done, and I think that's kind of ridiculous. Like you said, it's a conference. I mean,
yeah, this
Could
is a
work
lot of people's
at different
vacation.
times.
Like they're going down to Miami. They want to have a good time.
right?
They're not there to like do business necessarily. Like, but I mean, part of business is meeting people, and a lot of meeting people was done. So
Well, and like it's funny because like so the company I work for, like we do our conference in Vegas every 4 years. And like it's nothing but like a big party, you know. And I work for an insurance company. I promise you I'm not selling insurance when I'm down there, you know, like fuck Sticks and like oh, what's her face? Kelly Clarkson, of all people. We're down there playing. But they like shut down the airspace. There's like a huge like fireworks show. Everyone was sloshed, you know, like at the casino and stuff. I'm not gonna name the company I work for, but if you've been listening to me for some time, it's kind of easy. Or you follow me on LinkedIn, you'll see. But
let's see. I think it's March 4th through 5th. Bummer, man. I'm on spring break March 7th. But you know what? We'll see a few months from now. I'll probably
yeah, looks
still
like
send
you're
it.
skipping class, dude.
Yeah, that's what I mean, what's more important, literally, because like, I mean, it'll be my last semester. I haven't even started, and I'm already getting senioritis. Like, I just want to get into the crypto, man. I just want to educate and work and like grow the community. You know, that's what I
James,
was
that's a
trying
hell
to-
of a background there, man.
Yeah, James, what's going on, man? You're at like
Are you in a high rise?
beach. What's going on? You're muted, my
bro.
man.
He's like,
I'm
"Oh,
up
fuck."
here. Sorry, I'm eating and trying to do all kinds of shit right now. It's a long night last night. No, I'm just up here. I'm in West Virginia right now. It's just right along the Ohio River behind me.
I
So
swear
heard
I'm the
they're
only
paying people
one-
to move to West Virginia. Are they compensating residents who already live there? That's my question.
What'd you say, Moise?
Aren't they paying people to come move to West Virginia? That's what I heard.
Yeah, they have some sort of, state level government program that they're incentivizing people to come. I'm not sure exactly what it is, but yes, they are.
Mhm.
There's a few states doing stuff like that.
Mhm. I heard people are like, DC commuters are going to start living in West Virginia because it's
Yeah,
not
we
that
we,
far.
we always get a lot of in the DC area, a lot of those people like to come here on vacation. They like to go to the eastern part of the state because that's more, where the whitewater rafting and
Fun stuff like that.
rock climbing and stuff. Right, I'm all the way on the western part of the state. I'm on the border of Ohio. Like Ohio's right, but you guys are looking at Ohio. I'm in West Virginia, but
Oh,
there's
dang.
mountains back there in Ohio. So
That's insane. You're that close. That's awesome. That's
Yeah.
a hell of a view, man. That's
yeah,
some
West
prime
Virginia
real
owns
estate.
the Ohio River, so
That's funny.
I've driven through West Virginia a couple times. It's beautiful.
it's beautiful, man.
Ed, did you guys see that anonymous video?
I did. I thought it was very educational. I was like, oh shit.
What was it?
Anonymous
shit,
dropped a video going
should we
after
play it?
Musk.
No, it's all right.
We
link
can
it.
if no one's seen it. James, have you seen it? Ray, have you seen it?
I've not seen it.
All right, let's see if we
We
can
gotta
bring
play
this
it. It's
up.
not that
pretty,
long. It's like a
pretty
3-minute
wild
video,
though.
but it really puts an end to all the Elon FUD. Like, it is really
I
well
blocked
put
him on
together.
Twitter. I advise we all in the community should do that because then he loses his power.
I don't know about that because the dude has 53 million followers and like they're all a lot of people are buying Doge. You know, I actually think that's a disservice. I don't think we should give him as much validation as he's looking for,
Definitely
but like blocking him almost kind of gives him legitimacy.
Yeah, I'm just trying to ignore him completely because like he's lost his credibility. He has to earn my respect again. And it's a shame because he had it for a long time.
This video is gonna make you never get it back. I just say
pretty wild. Hold on, here it is. I'm trying to just get a good one. Make sure I get a decent. You know what I mean? Not some.
Here, let me send you. I'll send you the link. Do you not have the YouTube link?
Like the actual video?
Yeah. You don't have the actual YouTube link?
No, I'm a bot. So just send it here,
bro. We don't want any of this low quality BS here. We need need the OG.
I watched it last night. I thought it was wild. I had like, I think I was watching the TV show and I was like, no, you got to stop it. Stop the TV show. And I was like, I had to watch it like as soon as I saw it because, you're linking this to me, Alan?
Yeah. I'm desperately looking for it.
That's right. See, is it like taken down or something? Like what happened?
No, this anonymous, I guess, is just like a shadow banned on YouTube. Like if you type them up, like you won't find.
It's right. I could find this is good, right?
Let me see. Here, I got it.
You got it. All right.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Now, James, mute your. Tune in. This is movie time.
The audio is really all you need, honestly, because like aside from that, it's just your standard.
All right, let's mute ourselves. And give me a thumbs up if you can hear me. Hold on, or hear the video. Let's go. Hold on. Share screen. This is for all the viewers as well.
Should you make it full screen?
Oh yeah, I can hear.
Jacob, you muted it when you muted your mic. God damn it. Yeah, that's funny. Yeah, there you go. Go ahead and restart the video.
Ah, shit. All right.
You're gonna have to be.
Oh, you missed the lightning. Okay, here we go.
Yeah, I need that.
Citizens of the world. This is a message from Anonymous for Elon Musk. For the past several years, you have enjoyed one of the most favorable.
Throw your mic closer to it.
Class, because you have tapped into the desire that many of us have to live in a world of space exploration. But recently, your carefully created public interest being exposed, and people are beginning to see you as nothing.
This isn't working.
No, sorry, guys. Okay, listen, take our word for it. It's epic. Okay, here we can at least look at my screen, right?
Yeah, go ahead.
Here he's talking about there's some subtitles here. He's just like, listen, you're ruining people's lives. You're a dickhead. Look at the immigrant workers you got going on. And then let's see what else.
Well, he's pretty much just like he calls them out saying like, dude, like you've been in favor of like government takeovers of third world countries to fund your company. You got all these people on board thinking you're wanting to help humanity with cool electric cars and rocket ships.
Remember this here? This is when he starts getting into like, he bought the company of Tesla from these two dudes here.
Yeah, Martin Eberhard and
he didn't even found Tesla.
No,
this is what I'm saying. It was educational. I didn't know this. Yeah,
I had no clue.
Yeah, and then supposedly a lot of the revenue was coming in last year from Bitcoin proceeds.
Well, okay. So a little bit behind that. So like we've known, and we talked about this in class quite a bit, that like government subsidies are like the only thing giving Tesla like
energy credits. That's the only way they can run a profit.
Yeah, and they sell them to other auto companies. But like Anonymous calls them out because they're like, yeah, you're getting these energy credits, and then you turn around and buy Bitcoin, and Bitcoin's been like your best profit. Like your cars aren't even making a profit for you.
So he's his end game is probably to keep the price as low as he can, artificially using his clout, so he can stack as much sats.
Oh, for sure.
This
Well,
is
and like
greedy.
the whole last year, he was talking about how like they were going to use Bitcoin as a battery. Like everything we've been talking about, like is like proof of work, proof of energy. They're going to mine it. And then like all of a sudden he does like this 180.
Yes, I wonder what caused this switch to the dark side.
Well, that's what he talks about in the video, is that there was probably some pressure from governments to be like, listen, if you're going to keep fucking around like this, then we're going to stop your funding. That's what they're saying in the video. I don't
makes sense.
know anything.
That makes a lot of sense to me, because I mean, that obviously the government's not going to like the richest man in the world promoting this perfectly
Of course
free
not.
market asset. Like, they're not going to want that. And if he's getting help from the government, he's personally incentivized to stop what he's doing and do the 180, so he can keep getting those energy credits, so he can keep making money.
Well, it's fucked up because like he's telling everyone to go buy Doge and he doesn't care.
It's incredibly.
Well, now
messed
it's
up,
Safe
man.
Moon or whatever, isn't it?
It
Is
come
that the
rocket
logo?
now.
I can't follow all the emojis. I saw it was a rocket going towards the moon, so I was like, is that
Yeah,
Safe
it's
Moon?
cum rocket for
Oh,
sure.
it's cum
Well,
rocket.
and he
Oh,
spelt
oh.
out cum, but he
I-
put like Canada,
USA, Mexico.
USA, Mexico.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a shame because people do look up to him, and like they. I don't
used
know why
to.
they
I used
trust
to
him.
in a way.
Yeah.
I read his book. I thought he was like a revolutionary, and I still think he is. You know, I mean, to be honest, I think he's pretty incredible person, but he just sucks. You know, I mean,
Well,
he thinks the space is scammy, which it is. The cryptocurrency space is so scammy. It's
Yeah,
like
because all the shit coins. Yeah.
right, and I think
99%
this
of coins
is
are
just his
scammy.
way of kind of reacting to it, kind of. I guess.
Yeah. Well, like so what
He thinks it's
I
bullshit.
was making the argument that like let me pull it up here. I was tweeting about it, but essentially like what I was saying was that like this was like another stress test of the Bitcoin network. And like the last time we saw a huge stress test of the network was when like the block size wars were going on. But Dmitry Kofinas was like tweeting out something against like he tweeted out the anonymous video, and like I said, like amazing, Bitcoin has always been bigger than him, and then like he replied, biggest mistake of his life, Bitcoiners on the internet, they meme better than anyone and are viciously protective of their flock. How this snake oil salesman thought he could stroll into town and set up his 10 of cures shows you how arrogant he has become. And like I was like, damn, man, he's salty, like super salty. So I replied back to him, tried to like calm like the waters, you know, because like it does no good when like you raise like the level of elevation, you know, like in conversation, because like now like you're really polarizing people.
Mhm.
But I just said like I view his indecisiveness on Bitcoin as a demonstration of the integrity of the network. The world has never seen true sound money, and the last time money was out of the hands of a select few was when the barter system was commonplace. The world is witnessing a stress test of BTC. The last stress test we saw was the block size wars. The nodes won, the people won. Bitcoin will win again because it's built to be trustless. It doesn't care about Elon Musk or even Michael Saylor. Our world is so head focused on short-term solutions. It's time to think long-term. And that's just the truth, you know, like it's going to be a little bit
Eventually it's just gonna
bumpy.
be looked back on this and like he was just creating FUD. Like in the end, we're gonna win. Like,
Yeah, and everyone's gonna be like, "God, that fucker was manipulating the market. He bought up all my Bitcoin."
he got a bunch of people to buy stupid Doge and lose a bunch of money.
I'm personally, I'm comfortable with where the price is at now. Obviously, a week or two ago when it came to this level, I was a tad uncomfortable. I didn't care too much because you know I wasn't. Well, so did I. It wasn't like I didn't. It's not like I didn't buy any. It was just more like, damn it, you know. Because for me, my first investments were in the 40s and the 50s, so it did suck. But now that it's been in the 30s for so long, I wouldn't mind it going a little bit lower and just allowing me to accumulate more and more. But I would be lying to you if I said if it goes to 12, I would be a little emotional. Even though I wouldn't sell or anything, but it would be a little disheartening. That's just
If it does that, we're just gonna have to really like tune out the regular people in our lives.
oh yeah,
because
we're
they're just
hanging
gonna.
out
I
in
mean,
this chat every day.
everyone knows I'm in Bitcoin. Like that's all I
Yeah.
talk about now. So they're just gonna be like, oh, how's that Bitcoin doing?
Of
Blah,
course,
blah, blah.
of course.
Yeah.
And you're gonna be the asshole when it's going well. Like you can't say anything to them. You're not gonna be rude like that.
Yeah, because I'm not gonna do that.
Right.
I want them in the space. I want people
Right.
to
Just
I
buy
want-
it, man.
I'm just trying
Don't
to help
hate.
people. Like use the good money.
One Bitcoin equals one Bitcoin, right?
Yeah.
That's all that matters. Like, what are you talking about? Like, I don't
100
evaluate my
million
Bitcoin
sats,
in
baby.
USD.
Yeah.
Did you see
Man.
that picture? Did you guys see that picture of the president of El Salvador with his laser
I
eyes?
did.
Yeah. The best part,
Throw that
I
up
thought one
real
of the
quick,
best part about
Jacob.
Jack Mahler's speech was like at the end, he's like, it's just the Bitcoin network doesn't care. It's the president. It's just another node. It's just another wallet. It's like they didn't choose Bitcoin. Like Bitcoin isn't accepting. I can't remember the way he put it. It's like they're not accepting Bitcoin. Bitcoin's accepting them. I
Yeah,
think. It's
no,
like
100%.
they're just another small part. Who cares that it's like the government, the El Salvador's wallet? Like it's just another wallet to the network. And that's why I think it's why he called the speech "One Small Step for Bitcoin, One Giant Leap for Mankind," because it is just one small step for Bitcoin, just another node.
It's just another
wallet.
domino falling. But let's play some
Yeah.
devil's advocate here. You know, like it's great that the president has decided to hop on board. It still has some legislation to go through before it's like officially official. But let's play worst case scenario. You know, we've seen Iran and we've seen Venezuela come in and like promote the mining of Bitcoin and then do a complete 180, find out where all the miners are, confiscate them, and start mining them themselves. What are the odds that the president pulls this same kind of move? It is a dictatorship after all.
Oh, I mean, you can never put it past someone in government to try and hurt his people, you know. It's
the guy seems super young too, like incredibly young. I didn't realize how young he was.
I mean long term, like let's say we do hit the Bitcoin standard, but then if that's our wealth, like what if governments do start like attacking the mining pools? What if like they do start attacking like the people like Michael Saylor or like the Winklevoss, like the people who they know have the Bitcoin, which I guess the good thing is like your keys could die with you. So like even if they did that,
there's that. And like keep in mind, like when Tesla bought Bitcoin at 1.5 billion, like it was less than 1% of the total market cap. So yeah, you could go after some of the big dogs, but the only real big dog wallet is Satoshi Nakamoto's, and I believe he has 4 million coins in there. But everybody else doesn't even scratch the surface on that. So, and if like a government decides to go after it, like here's what's going to happen, you know, like Bitcoin's like the most democratic, like pro democracy, pro individual thing that's out there. And if governments start regulating it, another government's going to be like, hey, we want the money. Come here. We're not going to fuck with you. We're going to not tax you like property. There's going to be no taxes on Bitcoin, and all the innovation, all the wealth is going to drive into that country. So
100%.
like fucking do it. Like I dare any country to like any big dog to try and I mean, we've seen this time and time again. We've seen this in Nigeria. We see this in China. Like we've seen this in India. Every time a ban goes through or something like that, Bitcoin ends up trading at a premium.
Someone made that point to me this weekend, and it's got me inspired to go get my passport renewed just in case, you know.
Right.
US cracks down, like it's not bad to have an option to go somewhere else.
What do you think will happen to El Salvador? I mean, once the network kind of starts growing, would they still be able to unplug it? Bitcoin. I mean, I feel like once the network gets big enough in the country, it gets even stronger because there's more nodes to support it. But I guess that's kind of the double-edged sword, because if anything is too big, is bigger than the government or has more power than the government's going to come after it.
So here's a good follow on Twitter. If you don't follow Bitcoin Beach, go ahead and give them a follow, because they're a community in El Salvador that actually has already been utilizing the Bitcoin network or the Lightning network to conduct transactions. And I was talking to a guy in another Twitter Spaces, and a lot of people use it for a number of reasons. Crime down there is like super dangerous, and so like rather than go to the bank on payday because for fear of getting robbed, or rather than going to the bank to cash your check for fear of getting robbed, like they just get paid over the Lightning network. And with like Jack Mahler's Strike wallet,
I talked to that guy this weekend, that guy right there on
Who is it? Who is that guy?
That's the guy who like got this off the ground.
That doesn't tell me who he is, Moist.
I don't know his name. He was wearing the Bitcoin Beach shirt, and I was with Dennis, and Dennis was like, "Oh yeah, that's the guy I was telling you about who got this all started."
Damn it, Dennis
I
didn't
can't
know his
remember
name either.
No, he did. He did. I just don't remember.
We need to get Dennis in here at some point. We had
Yeah.
I don't know, James Ray. I don't know if you saw our conversation with him a couple days ago, but I think that was one of our best conversations so far. That guy is super fucking bright and actually was the one who introduced us to the whole Bitcoin Beach thing. But I know Pete McCormack is also playing like a big part, and like just like developing the community. And like I guess what the president realized in El Salvador was like, hey, the people are already doing this, and there's like James, like you said, like there's nothing you can really do to stop it. You know, like you can put a gun to everyone's head, but like what you kill them, like good luck getting their Bitcoin locked away forever.
But one good thing is like once it grows, because we know Bitcoin is going to take over. And one of the biggest factors of crime is poverty. So like El Salvador getting in early, hopefully less poverty, less crime. I don't know, but we'll
Well,
see.
and a government can't rob their time either, you know, by inflating their currency. Like they're being able to store their wealth. Like the biggest issue with like that community in El Salvador was like they'd wake up in the morning and it like a pot, like a cup of coffee would be $5, and then like later that night it'd be like $15.
That's ridiculous. So I mean, you
So
can't
like you
live in a
might as well,
society like that.
yeah. So like it'll be because everyone was like, I've heard a lot of people been like, well, oh, what is like El Salvador going to do? Like the price of Bitcoin swings so much, and I'm like, yeah, when you're thinking in dollars, like one Bitcoin equals one Bitcoin.
Mm-hmm. They just
So
gonna
like,
price everything in sats. Be like, yep,
yeah,
coffee's 10,000 sats tomorrow. It's
Do
still
you think
10,000
that?
sats.
Do you? I mean, I believe that, but I think they got to change the name. I don't think anybody, like none of my family is gonna want to say the word Sats. I don't think.
I mean, but like, what would
No,
you
it's
name the
so
dollar?
ignorant. I'm
You
just
know,
saying. I'm just saying. I
what
don't
would you
think like
name the
my
dollar?
family's going around being
Yeah.
like, "Oh, I got 100 satoshis." Like they're from Texas. They're not.
We have a
fucking saying
token
this.
called cum rocket in circulation.
Well,
Well, that's a
So
little. Listen, that's different.
you know, the money, this is modern money for modern people. They don't give a fuck about your old parents. I'm just kidding. I'm sure your old folks are all nice and kind, but yeah, Sats is here to stay for sure. That's not going to go anywhere.
Okay, with going back to the El Salvador thing, I'm super interested in what Moist talked about. How does Bitcoin combat poverty? And that's poverty. That's third world war. I guess maybe second world. I don't know what it would be classified, but how can you bring that to America and scale that into our really, really low income, really shit communities that just the local government doesn't do anything? You look up an area like East Cleveland. It's not Eastern Cleveland. It's actually East Cleveland. It's a
Its
really
own city.
Yes, it's a very just it's I guess it might be the lowest median income in the country, but interesting there it also has the highest number of minority business owners, the highest number of female business owners, the highest number of female minority business owners. People hustle there. It's a very interesting place, but during the Great Migration, when a lot of black folks, African Americans were moving from the south to the north, and Cleveland was a big city they chose. They kind of redlined it out or zoned off East Cleveland, so they could take advantage of not giving them the same rates, mortgage rates, and all sorts of things. So that's still taking place there today. It's a very interesting place, and they don't even have the money locally to fix potholes, to mow the grass in their parks. It's a very dangerous area right now, and I'd like to really see how Bitcoin could transform that area, seeing as how it has such a great business community and small business community.
Well, I mean, a lot of the poverty, the poor people in America, they don't own assets, and like they think the dollar is an asset. They think they can save these dollars, and the dollars will help them if they save enough, and it's just not the case. And also, I don't know. I know loans can. They were the 2008 financial crisis. They were giving out loans to people who couldn't really afford them.
Yeah, they're just predatory loans. I mean, they're just completely taking advantage of this person needing the money, and they just.
I think maybe something that could help with that is these exchanges where they loan against your Bitcoin. Like if we get to the point where Bitcoin's stable enough, you don't have to worry about it crashing in dollar terms. You got to pay out and like get like messed up, get fucked. Like maybe you could get to a point where like loaning out Bitcoin, like DeFi on Bitcoin, can really help grow businesses. Like
so So the biggest thing to think about, like I think adoption in the US is a little bit out there. But when you think of places like Turkey or like we said, El Salvador, Venezuela, like it's their dollar flux is more volatile than the price of Bitcoin. So it makes more sense for them to hold Bitcoin.
Right.
Now, the other thing to remember, like, what is money a representation of? Well, it's a representation of your personal time, you know? And as like the US dollar inflates, like the official number is like 2%, but or the like announced number is 2%, but I think it's actually closer to around like 7%. So if you save $100, that $100 in a year is only worth like $93, you
Is
know?
that even factoring in the last 12 months? Or is
No,
that
that's not even factoring in like the last 12 months.
so that's
So
going to ramp that up tremendously. I think what we are going to see, it's going to be a while for the US adoption. I agree, because a lot of all the countries that have their currencies pegged to ours,
mhm.
the further you are away from the money printer, the more damaged you're going to be. Us in America, we're somewhere in the middle, so we're not really getting hurt. I mean, we're getting hurt, but not as much as these other countries. So they're going to do it first, and at some point,
Yeah.
like so many countries are going to take their currencies off our currency, and then maybe that'll be a
Well,
wake up call.
it's either going to be there's going to be a couple countries that start it first, but then it's going to go into the bottom up theory where the people start taking it over and transacting. Like we saw that. I mean,
Well, I
technically
mean,
that
the
is what
countries
happened.
take it over because enough people in the country are like pushing it. I don't think
Right.
it was the president of El Salvador's idea to start doing this. Yeah, let's take away power from the government and give more to the
Well,
people. I think it was more the people like pushing
well, and
it,
he
the whole
made a
Bitcoin
he
Beach
made a
thing.
great point too. Let me see. I want to see. I think I retweeted it here. But the biggest point he made is like Bitcoin allows the bankless to be banked. So he said, I swear to God, if I didn't retweet this, I'm going to be pissed because it was fantastic. But essentially, yeah, I mean, think of like James, you're saying like here in America, like what's the biggest issue for like her lower poverty people? And it's like most of those people, like if you don't have like a home address or like utility bills or like a check from like an employer, like you can't open a bank account. And like if you can't open a bank account, like how are you going to apply for a home loan?
And that's most of the people I've there do not have a debit card, don't have a bank account. It's
That's
shocking.
bad.
A lot of just the regular people. I think it's more less adoption right now in those communities and more just mass education. I just think it's extremely
100%.
important to educate people right now on this to
And
get
the
them
sad part is
any amount of money.
if you Google Bitcoin, you're just going to see these CNBC headlines, like big traditional finance guys giving just the headline like, oh, Bitcoin, volatile asset, dangerous, risky.
Well,
And like,
if you watch MSNBC lately in the national news, they've really been trying to tie everything, all crypto, to this ransomware, all the ransomware and all the hacks. I mean, they're every time I walk in the room, and my mom is she's a baby boomer, so she's avid, just MSNBC nonstop, TV's on, and I've heard them discussing this and trying to relate those two things together 3 or 4
Yeah,
times this week.
MSNBC is pretty pro Bitcoin for the most part. There's like some rebuttal on
Right.
there. But I mean, like, so okay, so Nayib, the president of El Salvador, like here's his official take on why he adopted it. So he said Bitcoin has a market cap of $680 billion. If 1% of it is invested in El Salvador, that would increase our GDP by 25%. On the other side, Bitcoin will have 10 million potential new users and the fastest growing way to transfer $6 billion a year into remittances. Besides, a big chunk of those $6 billion is lost to intermediaries. By using Bitcoin, the amount received by more than 1 million low income families will increase in the equivalent of billions of dollars every year. This will improve the lives and future of millions. Furthermore, 70% of El Salvador's population doesn't have a bank account and works in the informal economy. Financial inclusion is not only a moral imperative, but also a way to grow the country's economy, providing access to credit, savings, investment, and secure transactions.
so they're just skipping traditional finance as a whole. They're going from absolutely nothing to the best financial free market
Well,
tool.
think about like what the US has done over the last 100 years is they go into a country, they're like, hey, you're going to use the dollar. And the country's like, no. And they're like, all right, we're going to give you all these guns and protection. You're going to use the dollar. And they're like, no. All right, we're going to give you all these guns and protections, and we're going to pay you on top of that to take the dollar. And they still say no. And it's like the US just, they figured out this process, like, hey, we're just going to pay you literally. We're going to find how much it takes for you to eventually accept selling your goods in dollars. And then like they eventually do it because the incentive is so strong. And then like fast forward like 25, 50 years, it's like after so long of having to convert from dollars into your national currency, like that process is so expensive that like the gap just like goes infinite, and you eventually get to a point where it's like you can't de-dollarize until Bitcoin comes around, and now it's like, okay, like there's only ever going to be 21 million. Like you can't print more of it, you can't find more of it. We know exactly how much is coming out at a set rate. Like it's infinitely divisible, transaction times. Like, and it's the other thing that drives me up a wall. And people say, well, oh, Bitcoin's slow. And it's like, okay, well, bank settlement
Not for
times.
a layer one.
Yeah. Not for a layer one. Bank settlement times takes 28 days for like your average transaction to settle. And in that time, that bank can like reverse, revoke, like do whatever they want with that money. Now we trust, like banks usually don't do that. It's happened for sure with people with like unstable like bank accounts, but even still, like we've trust banks for so long that we think like we've been like conditioned to think like that's normal. Like it's not fucking normal. Like we're gonna look back on this like how we look on like the separation of like church and state. Like I'm telling you,
Separation
20 years from now, separation of money and state is going to be like the next thing. And people are going to be like, holy fuck, like how have we allowed governments to just like devalue my personal time and money and like dictate like, well, yeah, I mean, and it goes back to just like the person closest to the money printers, the ones that like reap the most benefit out of it. And it's just like robbery after robbery. We've seen this, like the best example of this is in Africa. There is I don't know what country in Africa this was, but this country was transacting and like glass beads that they would find, and like these Europeans like were like, oh, we can make these glass beads. And so like they started giving these Africans these glass beads, and these Africans were so like, oh my god, we're getting so rich, that they started selling their own people into slavery until they realized like, oh, these Europeans just literally just were making glass beads.
Yeah.
Like, and that's the same thing that's happening right now.
That's just one example of how terrible like manipulation of currency has been. And I think, touching back, you mentioned education, James. That's so important. People compare Bitcoin to Visa, not realizing Visa is a layer 7 and not a layer 1. They're like, oh, I can send Visa in 2 seconds. Bitcoin takes 10 minutes, and they think that's a long time, but not for layer 1.
Yeah, not for Lightning. I me's incredibly fast.
For layer 2, it's like that.
It's faster than that. It blows my mind every time. Like I've been like Cody, in Cody's rooms, he would always be like, download Strike, I'm gonna send you sats or whatever. Like that was like his big thing. But I've seen like in like these Twitter spaces, I've seen a bunch of people do the same thing too, and the reaction every time, because like you think like a Venmo transaction's pretty fast. There's like a couple second delay in a Venmo transaction. Like Strike is literally like you blink and you miss it. Like you're like, holy fuck, there's money in my account. And the beauty about Strike is it like it's not it's not like transferring Bitcoin to Bitcoin, but it's using these nodes. So the way I understand it is Jack has like set up like a bunch of closed source nodes that like the Strike network, or Zap, I think Zap's the official parent company that operates. And in these nodes, he has like a bunch of like Bitcoin balances in there. And then like when you go to like conduct a transaction, like essentially what's happening is like, say I wanted to send $100 over to somebody in China for like the Chinese yuan. So I'm going to send them that $100. A buy order is going to instantly happen in Bitcoin and transfer over into that other node in China. And then that node's going to instantly sell that $100 of Bitcoin into the Chinese yuan. So there's like no transaction fee or anything for like converting currencies. Everything is just done on the back end of the Lightning Network. And because it's done the way I don't know the exact technicals of it, but like there's no taxable event or anything like that. I mean, it literally like it throws Western Union like out of business, like completely.
Yeah, the fees on Western Union are ridiculous.
Well, think about it. And like they charge you the more you send, like,
yeah, absolutely.
With Strike, it's like, hey, you want $100? Okay, here's the fee. It's a fraction of a cent. You want $1 million? Okay, here's the free. it's it might not be a fraction of a cent if it's $1 million. It might be like $1 or $2, but even still, like incredibly cheap, incredibly efficient. It's instant. Western Union wires aren't instant, like, and think about like all these, like you go, I guarantee you go find a gas station run by some like Nigerians or people in like these like developing countries. I guarantee you that gas station has a Bitcoin ATM. That family is using that Bitcoin ATM to send remittance payments back to their family because it's less expensive and it's more convenient. And it's more stable than their home currency to transact in Bitcoin than it would be to send in dollars, convert to their home currency, have like a third of that eaten out between the Western Union wire and conversion fees. And like now, like again, this is just not only has the dollar deflating and that currency deflating, but you're getting robbed by these intermediaries taking a huge chunk out of all that. It's like, it's fucking robbery.
Yeah, I mean, Bitcoin's the best way for these people to send money like to another country, like easily.
Is that what for me, I kind of think that there's so many different things you could think about when it comes to Bitcoin. You could think about the financial aspect of not only like the investment part of it, where you put some money in something and it goes up, and that's fantastic. But then the energy use of it all, and then like you were referring to just now, like how it can help out the poverty. I just think when you the more you go down the rabbit hole, which I know James is doing this now, and I just got this the programming Bitcoin books. It's like the more and the more you go down this rabbit hole, I mean, it's just, it just gets, it's wild just how much more it can help, how much more you can do with it.
Yeah, it's funny.
I'm curious how you found out about Bitcoin, James, because you're a West Virginia guy, there's I'm just curious, man, because
I think like
I don't see too many people like you that are in Bitcoin.
Oh no, there's not. I'm pretty rarity around here. I've already pretty well pissed off all my friends, especially this weekend, wedding weekend. That's all I was talking about. But
it's crazy, man. It's like you want to talk to everyone in the world.
They're gonna come back to you in a couple of years and then be like, "What was that again about Bitcoin?"
Yeah, it happens every 3 years, man.
I think I read about it though. Like I think I read about it when it first started getting up in like the hundreds, and just completely just wrote it off and was like, "What the hell? What is this?" Because my brother's in finance, so he kind of follows everything. But I don't know. I didn't really get into it until 2017 when I went to a coding boot camp. It's just like a 3-month program that teaches you how to write a software code and build software. So there was it was in Cleveland in the Akron area, and there was a lot of people. One of the instructors was starting to code in Solidity. So I wasn't really interested in Ethereum. It was right when Ethereum came out, and that's what really made me get into Bitcoin. Was just he was obviously into Bitcoin first, and now was into Ethereum, and so I'm actually coding a fantasy sports baseball game.
Oh, that's sick.
On Ethereum with him. We're gonna use like all the old leagues and Major League Baseball leagues and Negro leagues, and
oh, that's awesome.
We're just gonna we're not gonna actually have the real players though. Like you're gonna be able to guess who that player is.
Gotcha.
So we'll mimic him with the stat and just
Anyway, it's like a letter or two in the name or something like that.
Yeah, but I don't know. That's how I got into it with the development side, basically, just the technology. And the more I learn, and it's more about now. I'm learning it's more into about physics, and that's why I'm surprised that Elon Musk isn't so.
Yeah, he studied astrophysics.
No, he knows. He's just fucking being a fucking Elon.
And there's just so many different ways to look at Bitcoin. You found it from the tech side. A lot of people did. I found it from like the libertarian free market side. There's the whole financial.
And I guess I would be that too. Like, sorry, Moise, I didn't mean to cut you off.
Oh no, go on, bro. Tell me.
Like libertarian, I told you about my family's background and their background with gold, and so I've always been into alternative assets and just trying to find any way to have a little
get out of the fiat
Ponzi from the government, just have a little something.
Yeah.
Ray, I don't know if you're there, man, but I'm curious to hear how you got into Bitcoin.
I think I just saw like an article or something like that on it, and it's funny. For a while, I was listening to Charlie Shrem, The Untold Stories, and it was one of the early ones.
Yeah, great guy.
it seems like it was a common theme, at least among a lot of his people he interviewed, was just like the first time I heard about it, I was just kind of like, okay, whatever. And then it came up a second time, and then that's when people, like all the people that he interviewed were like, yeah, this, like, let me look a little bit more into this. And I feel like that kind of was similar to me. I think I just saw an article, I think in 2015, I think was when I first bought some, but I didn't really go down the rabbit hole yet. So
Mhm.
I didn't really know exactly what it was, but I'm like bought a little bit and sold a little bit. I'm just like, okay, I made a little bit of money here. What exactly is this? And then obviously, another good part for the bull and bear markets is kind of as the bull market comes, you're like, okay, let me look a little bit deeper into this and see, let's look at the fundamentals. And then, you start exploring some of the stuff you guys are talking about, the libertarian side. And something that you guys were talking about earlier, even too, with these other countries like El Salvador and stuff. I feel like it's interesting too, that they're coming in at this time now, because I feel like it's almost a good thing. I don't know, when I think about, hey, a country, a developing nation trying to get into Bitcoin, I would be scared that they would get in at the high point, and then all of a sudden, a bear market happens, and it looks bad and has a bad impact on them. So I feel like it's almost kind of a good point to get in right now, El Salvador wise, with the price being at what it is.
Mhm.
Just because currently things aren't necessarily looked at in sats, like you guys mentioned, everything's kind of USD, but if we get to that sats point, I think it'll definitely help them out. But
That's a great point, because if they would have got in just a couple months ago when it was at the all-time high, like, people would be making fools of them. I mean, I don't see it going any lower, and it could not. Short-term price predictions are, I
I
think, are
hope a
pointless, but
book or
we'll
like a
see.
movie's made on like Jack Mahler's like negotiation with him, just like how he pulled everything off, like how he approached. Because well, actually, Jack talked about it. He got DM'd by the president, right, Moist?
I think so. I can't
Oh, you
remember
weren't, but you
100%.
weren't there for the
No,
that's right.
I was. I was
You
watching.
were
I was just
okay.
watching it outside on the screen. He
Gotcha.
might have mentioned that. I can't remember.
I think that's what he said. He was like, "Yeah, can you imagine that? Like, Jack's pretty young, being like, hey,
Yeah.
Dad, like the president of this country just DM'd me, and we're gonna make the
Triple
currency
check,
I
make
work
sure it's not a
on."
bot.
Yeah, right. Double like all the numbers line up on this. How many followers does he have? Like, is this legit? Holy fuck. Yeah. No, great points. Great points, Ray, for sure. Yeah. It seems like everyone has like this same path that they follow, is like they read about it somewhere. They're like, oh, what is this magic internet money? Oh, I can buy a little bit. I don't even have to spend like more than $10. Like, okay, I'll buy some. You hold on to it. You're like, oh, number goes up. Let's throw a bunch more money at it. Great. And then it goes down and then you sell out of it because you get scared and you like take a break. And then like you start seeing some more articles. You start like, okay, maybe I should like take this more seriously. You start reading into it a little bit. And then like there's like this like singularity point where you've done so much research that like you don't care about the price anymore. It's just like, I don't fucking want dollars. I don't want to think in dollars anymore.
Mm-hmm.
And then you reach this other point where it's like, it's not about just the money. It's like, I need to educate, I need to talk to everybody in the world that like I come across and preach the good word of Bitcoin and Satoshi Nakamoto.
It's just like hard to, once you really start to understand it, it's impossible to not be obsessed, because you realize like what we're dealing with. Like, we're dealing with real money for the first time in the history of ever, and like everyone needs to use it, because I mean, once everyone's using it, the world's gonna be such a better place. It won't be a utopia. There's gonna be problems, but like it's gonna be so much better. We just gotta keep talking, no matter how annoyed people get. We just gotta keep talking their ear off about it, and then it's going to do its price thing, and that's going to draw more people in. It's going to, we'll maybe have another bear market, maybe we'll have the super cycle, and we just gotta, it's just going to be time, and the only way to speed it up is education.
something that I like to mention too, that I always kind of think about is from an outsider's perspective, is some of, it seems like a lot of the big players in the industry are kind of centralized, if you will, So, I mean, currently I've been kind of going down this BlockFi rabbit hole. I mean, you can think about Binance and stuff, but I think, it just is my personal opinion, but I think based on kind of how adoption works, is the ultimate goal is we want to be kind of self-sovereign. We want to have more freedom, kind of more of a libertarian mindset. But I think in order to get people there, I think having at least the first phase is having some of these centralized companies like BlockFi and Binance, and get people into the space. And then we slowly progress more into the decentralized aspect. Because I think, um, obviously we all, I think, can agree on this call that we really want to jump into the decentralized part, but um, the masses don't necessarily, and I think we kind of have to do a slow phased approach to kind of get them. And so it's just something I've been thinking about a lot lately, um, with just kind of some rebuttals and things when you look at, like, hey, how do I earn more Bitcoin without spending? I'm looking at BlockFi, I'm looking at decentralized finance, but I'm looking at all these different ways these companies are working. So it's just something that I don't know, I just wanted to kind of throw out there and see what your guys' thoughts are on kind of some of these centralized entities, at least at the start. I mean, I
I
think they're
definitely
kind of
think
good.
they are, because a lot of people are scared it's fake cyber internet money, but some of these companies, while they might be centralizing to appear on the outside, it's also giving it like a face. It's giving it something trustworthy. Like I wouldn't have. I first I typed in Bitcoin and I went on Coinbase, and like it looks like a legit website. A lot of these, I mean, they're legit companies. Coinbase had IPO. The fact that they are being more legitimized, the mainstream exchanges, I do think that's good for adoption, at least like speeding it up. But yeah, I mean, at some point, we don't want the exchanges to be too powerful. But I don't think that could happen with the nodes. But on that point, like I don't know how to get Bitcoin other than mining it or buying it on an exchange. But maybe there's a place where like miners can sell it directly to retail, like without an exchange. Is that something?
Well, so here's one thing you want to think about with like the miners and stuff is that like the cost of mining and like winning out blocks is
They have to
so
sell it
high that
to make, yeah.
they have to sell off. And I've heard a lot of Bitcoiners also argue this too, especially like the super pure ones that don't believe in any of these other tokens, and that like DeFi right now is a total sham, and that like at the end of the day, like Ethereum, Polkadot, Cardano, they're all centralized. They all have organizations that
You can
control
all
all the
release more
development.
tokens.
Yeah. And they're looking for a problem that really doesn't exist, like they'll argue that like you want to have like your finance guys, like there's gonna be in the transition, there's gonna be this hybrid of fiat to Bitcoin. And then you have like the complete other side too, where people are like, no, DeFi is going to be born on Bitcoin. Like there's not going to be any of these central entities. Like BlockFi is going to die out, Coinbase is going to die out. It's just a matter of time. Um, I don't know. It's hard to say. It's hard to foresee a lot of this stuff because it's like it's fun to like speculate and think like, okay, like when we go to the Bitcoin standard, like all of fiat's gonna die, but it's also like part of me, and maybe it's just like goes back to like we've never seen true sound money, but like in terms like so many things are gonna have to change if that's the case. Like you're not gonna be able, governments aren't gonna be able to pull tax anymore. Like companies are going to have to like right now, like when you get like a raise, like you have to negotiate your raise, but with like a deflationary asset, like it's going to be the inverse of that. Like the employer is going to have to negotiate their raise with you because like the cost of fiat's always going up and like they can't have like rising costs 24/7.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know.
I guess that is something we need to think. I mean, obviously we want Bitcoin because that's going to be way better than the existing system. But like, as great as Bitcoin is, the world is always going to be imperfect. We're never going to have that utopia. I mean, something else to consider, like these wars. Like when we funded World War II, I mean, that they stole from the people by just printing money to fund the war, but like they had to do that. They had to beat Hitler and the Nazis. So like, what if we have a third world war and we're on the Bitcoin standard and nobody wants to, they're going to try and tax, but nobody wants to get their Bitcoin? Like, I mean, what happens then? It won't be a utopia, but like, I don't know. We'll see.
James, what are your thoughts?
I got kind of lost in there in my head. I'm thinking about how did they pay for? How did we fund World War II? Did we sell bonds? What's the difference between selling bonds and printing money?
So selling bonds essentially is when you buy a bond, you're purchasing government debt for the time being. And then the government's promising kind of like a savings account to pay you back a little bit extra. And so like wartime, like World War II, the US government was just bond after bond after bond after bond.
Purchased
And
approximately $186 billion worth of war bonds.
yeah.
Google.
And on top of that, you got to remember the president also confiscated like all the gold to get the economy running before entering the war effort. So there's like
About that.
a lot, which is why Bitcoin's better, because like
They
a
can't do
government
that.
couldn't do that against your gold. Now there was like a bunch of stipulations there too with the gold, like they weren't taking like wedding rings and stuff like that, but anything
Right.
stored in a bank, because that's originally how like or the dollar worked, is like they give you a greenback as proof of, okay, you have gold in the bank, but since you actually didn't have physical custody of that gold and the president decided to come in and confiscate it all, there's nothing you could do. The bank was like, yeah, here you go. Here's the gold. So
Okay, so yeah, I don't really think, like Moy said, I don't really think we're moving towards some utopian society. I mean, I don't think it's just unrealistic.
Yeah.
So, but I
yeah,
definitely think it
humanity is
helps.
inherently good and bad and will
Yeah,
always
but
be.
it just it definitely can help these low income areas though. I mean, that's just my main concern right now is trying to figure out how to educate low income areas, people in East Cleveland, and into investing into Bitcoin.
Is West Virginia? I know West Virginia is one of the because I go to school in the Appalachian Mountains. I know the whole Appalachian region is very, very poor. Like I see people all the time. Like I mean, this is a way to help, but like
Yeah, and with my area, I'd like to even help locally in my town because it's been hit hard, and we have a really strong network of good business community here, and a lot of people that want to work. At one time, right after World War II, there was a DuPont, a GE, Corning Glass, and those are all at the time. DuPont and GE were probably top.
The companies to work for.
They're right down the road from me, right down here on the river.
Right.
So, and we had a really wealthy class of people in town, probably like a 1%er type class in town that helped build the town. And it's still a lot of those family members around. So, that's why my brother came back here to do financial advising. And that's why I'm trying to get him onto Bitcoin as well. So I can see if he can sell some of these old wealth guys onto Bitcoin too. So, and educate them as well as the low income community. So
maybe if some of these small towns and communities start adopting it, like that could be a real big push.
Yeah,
that's how it's gonna be. Like I said, it's gonna be from the bottom up. That's how it's gonna work
push
here.
To the state level. I mean, so
well, and like we've seen, like we said, like Florida, Texas, Wyoming in favor. We've seen New York and some of these other tend to be bluer states not in favor. And like I mean, like what you're seeing here is an optimism states on one end optimizing for short term, pro Bitcoin states optimizing for long term, and they're going to see wealth influx into those states. Like, and as it stands right now with property tax, like they're going to make hand over fist on that as it stands, on top of incentivizing like more decentralization and mining and all that into the US, which I think is all good. And it's going to get to a point where it's like the early adopter states it's much like how the adoption of marijuana state to state is going on right now. Like we saw Colorado, we saw Alaska, we saw with California make hand over fist on taxes. We saw it improve their schooling, educational structure, their state infrastructure, all of that. And like we've seen this domino effect, like slowly by slowly, more every year, every voting cycle, we're seeing at least 2-3 new states legalize it, make it done. So it'll be the same with Bitcoin, but a lot faster.
Right. And it's some of the people that are going to fight for Bitcoin too, like the people that were probably out there growing pot since 1970 and 1980, just putting the middle finger up to the federal government. I think Bitcoin absolutely has the right type of mindset in their community to put their middle finger up to the federal government.
I got to bounce. This was a great conversation, though, guys.
Yeah, for sure. We'll see you, boys.
I do too, guys.
Yeah, I think that's a good point to wrap up. I appreciate you all coming on and everything, and I hope you guys enjoy the rest of your week. So we'll be back on next Sunday.